Hello.
Hi, Jordan.
Today we're going to talk about the torus, a fundamental pattern in all of reality.
Huh? No, it's a geometric shape with some interesting properties, but it's certainly not fundamental to reality.
The torus is a very fundamental part of nature. So fundamental, in fact, that science is now seeing that everything moves through this form in one way or another.
Well, I'll grant you that tori are fairly common, but there's a very simple reason for it.
Gravity!
Oh, sorry, Desert File. Electromagnetism, but thanks for playing. When a charged particle moves in a circular orbit, it gives rise to a toroidal magnetic field, because the magnetic field is always at a 90-degree angle to the plane of the orbit.
Very simply, the torus is a self-organizing system that all comes together at a space of unity and expands its energy out all around itself until it returns back to that original space in the center.
No. A torus is a shape generated by having a circle in 3D space revolve around an axis in the same plane as the circle. The shape you describe, in really vague terms that would be incomprehensible without the animation, is called a horn torus. That's a special case that occurs when the axis is tangent to the circle.
In quantum physics, mathematics, and generally all forms of science, this geometry really begins to bridge the gap between understanding how sacred geometry truly is the geometry of life.
No, quantum mechanics and mathematics don't address life. That's biology.
This is a geometry that breathes. It has life itself.
No, a geometric shape does not have metabolic processes.
Our very own hearts are the first and best examples of a toroid.
No, a heart is not shaped like a donut.
The heart is where it all starts. The energy of our hearts flow outward in a toroidal fashion and are also received in a toroidal fashion.
No, that doesn't even mean anything. What?
In other words, our emanation of love is a gift to yourself as much as it's a gift to the universe around you.
Oh, okay, I think I see where you're going now. But this has nothing to do with geometry or energy or the human heart. This is very simple behavioral psychology. Can't you just say, if you're nice to people, people will be nice in return? There's no reason to throw in all this mysticism and to misrepresent science and mathematics. Look, if you want to use a torus as a symbol for something, that's fine. If you think of this as a metaphor, it works just fine. But that's all it is, a metaphor. The human heart is not shaped like a donut. And no, it doesn't matter how many actual donuts you eat.
Our modern scientists haven't really taken the concept of hollow Earth very seriously, even though this concept does explain a lot of fundamental theories about the Earth to which we don't really understand.
Actually, science completely rejects the hollow Earth notion. I say notion and not theory, because the Earth isn't hollow. It's really that simple.
If you look at the flower of life in 2D,
Not this again, Jordan. I'm just gonna move on.
even Nikola Tesla worked with this geometry.
Well, of course he did. He worked with...
Gravity!
No, Desert File. I was going for electromagnetism once again.
And through it he discovered a way to access free energy for the entire planet.
Yeah, so I've heard. You know what else I've heard? That Jews are from space. Don't believe everything you hear, Jordan. Especially not when it's something absolutely impossible. Free energy is impossible by definition, because energy is a system's potential to do work. A system can never do more work than it has the potential to do. It's that simple.
Well, of course, all of the corporations of the world wanted to keep charging people for energy. And between them and the US government, all of Tesla's most amazing work was destroyed.
Yeah, I've heard that one too, and that's an extremely stupid conspiracy theory because it would require millions of people to be involved in the conspiracy. I mean, yeah, sure, Tesla's work was groundbreaking back then, but today, this is stuff that every physicist and engineer knows. And yet not one takes that next step he did. Or supposedly did anyway. Not one of them steps forward. Not one of them leaks the information anonymously even. Of course they don't. Because there is no conspiracy to hide free energy. Because there is no such thing as free energy.
The Institute of Heart Math, as well as Stanford University, among others, have now scientifically demonstrated that around the physical heart of your body, you have two toroidal fields.
Then I'm sure you'll provide a peer-reviewed source. No? Okay.
Greg Braden has done a lot of work in explaining this to the modern world as well.
For the record, Greg Braden is an author of New Age literature who has absolutely no scientific credentials whatsoever.
And Drunvalo Melchizedek.
Ah, yes, of course, how can we forget about him? Another author of New Age literature with absolutely no credentials of any relevance. Could you please cite sources that are not crackpots?
China is doing some really amazing things. They have hospitals that are completely dedicated to the work of prana and energy.
China has great educational programs, but the sad fact is that a lot of people, especially in rural areas, don't really have access to them. This leads to huge parts of the population being poorly educated and pretty superstitious. And where you find people like that, you will find scam artists willing to take advantage of them.
In one experiment in a Chinese hospital, we see how the science of mantra is used to remove the cancer tumor of a woman in just 2.5 minutes.
Really? Because all I see is a bad magic trick.
When chanting from the heart, these doctors allowed themselves to focus on the reality that this woman was already being healed.
Notice how this isn't done under controlled conditions? There's no way for me to know that the sonogram wasn't a video recording done in advance. There's no way for me to know that this woman even has cancer. For all I know, these people are actors. Are you even familiar with the concept of people lying? Look, if these people were honest and this stuff really works, they could do this under controlled conditions. I hate to keep bringing this up, but James Randi is offering $1 million to anyone who can demonstrate any kind of supernatural power under controlled conditions. And that's not even mentioning the fact that if these people could do this under controlled conditions, they would revolutionize medical science, win a Nobel Prize, save millions of lives. Why don't they do that? Because they're frauds. They won't go to the scientific community because they know they'll be charged with genocide after all the smart people laugh themselves to death. So instead they go to the public where they find idiots who actually take this crap seriously.
Our Western model is not built to understand gravity, and the Russians have developed models which harmonically see that gravity itself is a conscious field.
Okay, you're absolutely wrong. First of all, there is no Western model. Physics is the same no matter where you go. Second, the Russians haven't shown that gravity is anything other than the curvature of space-time, which we already knew. What you mean is some Russians have claimed that it's something more than that. It's kind of like how a Canadian has claimed that Jews are from space. This does not mean that the Canadians have shown that Jews are from space. You are, as always, ignoring mainstream science and listening only to crackpots who say things that you think sound nice, without giving a damn about whether it's true or not. You completely ignore the fact that mainstream science is mainstream for a reason, namely, because it works. It makes testable predictions that can be confirmed through experiments or other kinds of observations. It's accepted because it withstands the kind of criticism that I hurl at you, and worse. And even then, it's only accepted tentatively. Science accepts that which demonstrably holds up. You accept whatever sounds nice. That's why, if reality isn't intuitive, and it isn't, you will always be wrong. See ya. What, there's more?
By understanding the torus and the nature of unity, one can really get in tune with themselves in relationship to the all.
We can free our minds from the perspective that anything is separate, even as a void of a black hole contains the existence of everything supposedly outside of it. This is reflected in the psychic nature of those who, in meditation, dive into the void of consciousness, and those also who reach a state of Godhead awareness that includes all life.
If you learn to live not in your brain, not in a logical thinking world, but in a world that is female and with a heart, and that you begin to love people,
The vector equilibrium, when put into use in science, can grant access to an infinite amount of energy through tapping into the space of unity of the source field.
Oh! There's no such thing as infinite energy. Thanks.